Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Cup TV, part of the Currently Unnamed Podcast Network, where we put the real and the tea in reality, and you can always come here first to quench your thirst. I am Brooke, and I am passionate about pop culture. What I'm not passionate about is Season 5 of the Challenge All-Stars. At least not yet.
Yeah, for good fucking reason.
I'm drinking water, just a generic bottle of water, and I don't have the clip to play, but you know what I mean. Besides the point, if it wasn't already bottled, I would be drinking it in my cup mug. And you and yours can get your cup mug at laundrycreations.etsy.com. That link will be in the description down below. We do ship domestically here in North America and internationally, so there are no excuses. I wish there were some excuses for what's happened so far in the season of the challenge.
And hello, my name is Jack. I am the resident game designer of the panel, and today's date is not February 6th, 2025, although it very much feels like it could be, as we are basically recapping episode 2 again, but with a couple of footnotes. Like, this season is so nothing
so far,
at least so far, that we have literally seen the same thing happen 3 episodes in a row. And I mean, thankfully, it can only happen 2 more times in a row. But that isn't a good look. That's a really, really bad look. And I'm praying that things change.
You know, I'm just going to put it like this. Whelmed. I am currently not even whelmed. On the plus side, we do have a few good things going for the season, namely one, Miss Davon Rogers is still in. But yes, if you guys are here to watch this season of the challenge like Jack and I are, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. And you can stay updated every week when we talk about everything that's going on there. And if you're here for any of our other content, like our Survivor coverage or Australian Survivor coverage, or our Traders coverage, or our Love Island All-Stars coverage, even though that season just ended, or pretty much anything else, because, dear Lord, we cover a lot of shows here. Again, hit the subscribe button too. Share us. We'd love to see you. We are trying to get 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. It may be a bit harder, but you know what? We're going for it anyway, because one thing we will never not do on the Cup is try. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get started, and let's talk about this episode. So, as of last week, we said goodbye to Sylvia and Kellyanne. I'm bummed as a Kellyanne fan.
Yeah, I mean, it is rather sad to see them go. I mean, both of them have had pretty good standout moments in the past, but this season, they got just swept up. It was very much on the conveyor belt of take on Adam and Steve in a challenge that Adam and Steve are naturally good at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was unfortunate. I do really like Kellyanne. Sylvia, whatever. But Kellyanne is one of my faves on the challenge. So it was nice getting to see her, even if it was not for very long. We're coming in this week. Adam and Steve are 2-0 in the jungle. Everyone else has yet to see the jungle. Our stars have not changed since the first episode. Feels a little stagnant at this point, even now, even before this week. We get a little bit of something before the episode starts. We get a little bit of Frank being a little downhearted still about Sam's performance. We get a little bit of the recap between the drama between Ashley and Anissa from last week. But for the most part, before the challenge, it's kind of just an episode, you know?
Yeah. We kind of get Ashley scream ranting at her boyfriend. Like, I don't know how else to describe how she's talking, but it is
don't use my credit card.
Don't use my credit card. I am going to tell you all the negative things happening around me. I'm going to raise my voice. Thank you for letting me rant at you.
Mad respect.
Good for him. But Oh my god. This
is so funny.
This is the first time we've seen this. No, we saw it once last episode used, right? The like phone room almost, because I feel like we're gonna see that more consistently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Ashley basically screams all of her problems at her boyfriend, and then Anissa and her talk and make up. And this hauntingly familiar to what Sylvia and Kellyanne did last episode. I wonder if that is at all relevant.
We will see that. See if it is relevant by the end of the episode. Spoiler alert, maybe. So we go into the challenge. Like the actual challenge. Challenge is called Push Over. Not to be confused with pushover, but like push over. And it's part of one of my favorite subclasses of challenges on the challenge, aka we're riding on a big truck down the road doing something.
This is a weird category, but somehow it works.
It worked. It's every season. We get a challenge like this every year.
They find a runway, grab 2 trucks, and fucking go.
Here we go. We rent out a tiny airport every year, get this big runway, rent it out for a day, maybe 2 if we really need to scout the location, and boom, we have the best subcategory of challenges on the challenge. No, the best subcategory is by far every trivia challenge, but that's beside the point.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so we get some really funny moments in this challenge. But before we do, a quick little synopsis of the challenge. They're on a big truck where they are both harnessed in. Nobody will be falling off a truck in this challenge, unfortunately. So one member is suspended on a little swinging harness. Their teammate has to shove them as hard as they can to grab these rings on these poles, swing back in, hand the ring to their partner who walks across this like relatively wide balance beam, to be honest with you. And then snap it onto this little post. And then the team with the most rings by the end wins this daily. Couple of things. A few of the rings are yellow. And if there is a tie, those rings will count for double points. And we also know that they are only allowed to take 1 ring across the balance beam at a time, which will kind of, but not really matter during this challenge.
It literally is just that rule is only explained to yell at one team who is not even close to winning.
Yeah, so it was definitely one of those moments of like, we want to have a funny moment in this episode, or else we wouldn't have even known about that rule, to be honest with you. So some of the teams do well, particularly Shane and Devon have a pretty solid performance early on. And then some of the teams do not. Anissa and Ashley M are struggling. Sam and Frank are struggling. We see basically the teams that have been struggling continue to struggle.
Although there is a note that Adam and Steve in this challenge do not do as well. I mean, they still do decently fine, but they are definitely outpaced by other teams. This is very clearly not up their alley, which means for once we have a challenge that isn't directly given to if you have 2 strong men on your team, you win.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we do have the other problem where if you have someone who is strong and someone who is light, you win instead.
Yeah. Well, some of these teams do, because we then have the issue of Big T, who is like the second shortest person in this house. I think Melissa's the only person shorter than her. With Corey, who is a big man, like he's a relatively tall, muscly guy. Corey out of his element here. He is bumbling, fumbling, stumbling all over the place. He's not even the one on the harness. He's the one on the truck. And we see like Big T's doing a really good job. She's grabbing her rings, bringing it back to Corey. And then Corey doesn't even turn around to go put the ring on the post. He just throws Big T at the next ring. And then he finally goes to the post. He has 2 yellow rings. And we're like, oh, okay.
Yes. The rule they explained. Great. We're yelling at Corey.
Yeah, we're yelling at Corey. And they were both yellow bonus rings. So, I mean, I guess at the end of the day, if you're gonna bring 2 rings across, those are the ones that make the most sense. But
yeah, but
you could have just like put one on the post, went back, put the other one on the post, or like just put the first one on the post when you got it. Like a lot of options here. Notably with Anissa and Ashley, Anissa is not pushing Ashley hard enough at all. She's having to grab the rings with her feet because her arms aren't getting to the post. We see Katie having a really fun time. As a friendly reminder, I love Katie, but having Katie have these little like welcome to the challenge masterclass confessionals, this is my new favorite bit on the challenge. Keep this bit. I love this bit.
It is a very entertaining bit. And I mean, we have one beforehand where Katie is like, okay, look, Adam and Steve, you're going to keep getting thrown in. Here's some basic strategy to make yourself look more intimidating. And then we have it during the challenge, and Katie can't explain it. She has no idea what's going on.
I love Katie. Katie has become my favorite part of the season, to be honest, because every time we get a Katie confessional, it has been high quality. Like this, like she's been phenomenal this season. Even if as a competitor, her and Veronica haven't done the best, they've still been good, and it's been fun to watch. But as usual, the 2 teams that you expect to do very well in a challenge, where one person is very big and strong and the other person doesn't weigh very much, aka Fessy and Amber and Devin and Leroy, are your top 2 teams of the week. Also, no shade to Devin. I don't know how tall you are, but Leroy is like 6'5". So
yeah.
No shade intended to Devin. You're just not like Leroy height. So we find out that both teams managed to get 11 rings, so the bonus rings are actually gonna matter. Wow. I didn't think they would.
I genuinely do not understand why they didn't just say, and if we need to tie break, the team with the most golden rings would win. Because that's all that statement is doing.
Mm-hmm.
If you double the value of the golden rings, the value of the golden rings is what matters then. So it was long and contrived just to say the golden rings count in the event of a relevant tie.
Yeah, pretty much. But your winners of the challenge for the second time this season, which applies to both of them, which is why I get to have this dramatic pause, is Amber and Fessy.
Yay!
Yay, Amber! Yay, Amber! Just Amber, nobody else. Just Amber.
Amber and her partner.
Her and just her. Just her. I'm happy that they're safe because I do like Amber and I want her to succeed. But this is just kind of a repeat of the first episode a little bit. We don't really get to see Amber and Fessy talk strategy at all. And we'll get to the vote in a minute because there is something very important that happens in the middle. But Amber and Fessy win this week's daily. They are safe for the week if they want to be. And they have the right to send one of the teams into the jungle just by their own choice. So we'll see who they pick. But before that, we get one of another recurring segment on the challenge of the season, which is insert party night here. 80s prom party, I think is what it was described as.
Which is very awkward, seeing how like a good amount of this cast is not from the 80s.
Yeah.
Born significantly after. So I mean this theme makes sense with the original All-Stars concept, not here.
I don't mind it because it's kind of just like a little bit of a party. It's a funny theme, whatever. Mm-hmm. 2 important things happen here. One, Adam and Steve take the opportunity to try to come up with some semblance of a strategy for this week because they're pretty sure they're going to get thrown in again. It's just easy. It makes the most sense. So they're like, what if we get another star team, a team that has a star, get them thrown in against us, we beat them, send them home, and then we give the star to the team that threw them in as like a thank you, right? that might buy us some social capital. I'm like, strategy from Adam and Steve? What? Actual strategy from Adam and Steve?
And I guess we also now kind of learn how that would work, because we were unsure on how, if 2-star teams went in, what would happen to the extra star.
Yeah.
Now we know there's actually another level of social strategy behind that, which is very, very nice to know.
If it were me and I did not have a star, I am sending in 2-star teams every round if I have the power to.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. So what ends up happening, another thing that ends up happening during this party is the challenge hookup alarms are blaring, everybody. It's the first of the season. I doubt it will be the last.
It's not going to be the last.
It's not. It never is.
I have a feeling.
It never is. But we do have a hookup in the challenge house, and this season it's Anissa and Sam having some action. Thank you.
Lesbianism.
Lesbians. Let's go, lesbians.
At least it's not straight this time.
You know,
we've had so much of that we find on a primarily queer cast, it only feels right that we get a hookup that is not straight, and thank God.
Thank God. So congratulations to MTV for this one. You did it. You made it. So really fun part about this is they're in these bunk beds that are very clearly like twin-sized beds, and this is not me body shaming because I have zero room to do so. Anissa and Sam are both plus-size individuals, and imagining the two of them on a twin-sized bed, which twin-sized beds are tiny, like for me, I don't like.
Yeah.
I thought it like
when I had a partner, we tried to cuddle on a twin-sized bed in college. No, cuddles as far as it went, and that's as far as I'm willing to admit on podcasts. Yeah, no, that it's not very possible, and we are both two relatively average sized people. Like, I cannot imagine how difficult that was. And no, those beds are not made for that.
No, they're not. We also get a really funny moment where you hear Frank, who's, you know, they have to share the room with their partner. So they're in the room that Sam and Frank are in. And you just hear Frank get up and go, ugh. And Nisa goes, sorry, Frank.
And Frank gets exiled.
You know, it's only fitting.
It is only fitting, and it is very, very funny.
I lived for this.
But, I mean, you can't really complain.
I'm not. It was entertaining, and I appreciate that here. So moving on to the hookup. But yeah, everyone seems to be vibing with Sam at the moment socially. So I think Sam is actually playing a very strong social game. Which is nice to see because we don't really get to see that a lot on shows like this. So we go into the house vote, or I should say the house vote, because nobody even votes. There is no vote to be had because
Adam and Steve just kind of give up.
They're like, yeah, we know we're going to go in. We know what makes the most sense.
We'll just do it.
You should send in a team with a star. That's it.
It sucks that they are almost cornered into this position at this point. Adam and Steve in particular, I mean, obviously we've gone over like how they're kind of on the outs of the game. A lot of the people that they played in All-Star seasons with in the past are connected to people who haven't. And as such, those more new age connections are what are actually going to take control. So this almost feels inevitable. And the cast is just begging and praying that production gives them an elimination that they automatically don't have an advantage in.
Yeah, and I mean, I will say, I think out of the eliminations we've seen them in thus far, outside of the one, I mean, again, we know that they went into elimination this week as well. Out of the three that they've been in, I think the only one that greatly, like, they had an advantage in on principle was the one they had last week with Sylvie and Kellyanne. I don't think they had a major advantage this week.
I do think they had a small advantage, and I'll talk about it when we actually get to the elimination, but I do think there was a little bit of an advantage towards them once again. But, I mean, that is the difficult thing. It is really, really difficult to design challenges that are fair across the board that don't just involve you completing a puzzle. It's really difficult to balance strength across gender, across age, across weight. So I get what they're doing. It's just that if you can't balance it, don't make a season like this, because they have not made that balance.
It's true. And we do get this moment where they, talk to Fessy and Amber. They tell them, hey, you send us a team with a star, maybe Devin and Leroy. You send in Devin and Leroy, and if we win, we'll give you their star. We'll give it to you straight up. Don't even have to come in to get it. You can just send them in. We'll beat them. You can have their star. And I thought about it, and I'm like, what consequence does this hold for Fessy and Amber if they send in Devin and Leroy? Like, what is the negative here for them? Because if Devin and Leroy win, well, Adam and Steve are gone, which is good for everybody, I think, at this point. And then Devin and Leroy just give their star to somebody else, whatever. Game at least opens up a little bit. And if Adam and Steve win, well, now you have a star and Devin and Leroy are gone. So, like, I didn't see a negative here. Did you?
I think it was honestly making the first move. That is probably what potentially scared them off from this. They either get to stick to the status quo, they don't have to make a move because they are in a position where they already have a star. Well, my brain is not working. Because they would be in a position where they then have a star, and there's such a big threat of a team, I feel like they would almost take the position or have a good chance to take the position of Adam and Steve and be constantly sent in. And I don't think they necessarily want to deal with that just yet. I think they can go a couple rounds beforehand. But I do think it would have been at least a decent thing to consider a little more.
Well, another important thing to talk about here is we do have, Ashley and Dario and Ani and Turbo also have stars. They have kind of just been hanging back, staying out of all of this, just with a spot in the final whenever they get there. And it's really interesting to see that when we have, Adam and Steve, they've been targeted from the beginning. They haven't really had an opportunity to do anything. It's interesting to see where we're going to go with this long term. And where everybody's position is going to be, because we get to the jungle and they do not pick Leroy and Devin. They pick Ashley and Anissa. I think this was a terrible move, personally. From a game perspective, I don't get it. Because
it's to keep the status quo. It's them knowing that if they send Ashley and Anissa down, they're not probably coming back.
See, I wouldn't bet against Ashley in an elimination 98% of the time, right? Has she lost some eliminations in her challenge career? Absolutely. But generally, Ashley is an incredibly strong competitor. Anissa, not so much, at least not in recent years. But they have both been able to get it done in the eliminations recently, even in their last few appearances. So sending them in against Adam and Steve almost felt to me like a whatever decision. I think they ultimately made a call, and this is what they're going to have to deal with. But not exactly who I would have picked in this situation.
I think there are better strategic moves. But once again, we are getting maybe 5% of the house strategy. There could be a lot more deeper stuff that we are simply missing because we are getting 40-minute episodes. Like, we are getting a very short amount of time compared to other seasons. We don't have any sort of strategy talk, we could be missing a lot that we just simply don't know. And why Ashley and Anissa? We really don't know.
True. Because we don't even get to see Amber and Fessy talk about who they're going to send in. We get a little bit of a flashback to Challenge 38 where Anissa sent in Fessy and Mariah to like a general amount where they were in a draw, but I don't even think they went into the elimination, if I remember correctly.
I don't believe they did. I believe because it was the draw, they managed to pull themselves out.
Yeah. And even then, they were like the last team picked. I don't get this idea of Fessy being like, well, now it's payback. And like, whatever. Okay. Sure, Jack.
It just didn't make sense. But
yeah, I agree. So our jungle this week is Downpour. I did not like this competition. I thought it was really boring to watch. One member of each team has a bucket, a big, like, huge tank, basically, of air that starts. One member from the opposing team is going to stand inside of that tank with a star-shaped shield. The other member, the member of the opposing team who is not in the tank, will be above their team's tank with a water hose, trying to get as much water into the tank as possible, while the person in their tank from the other team is trying to block it with their shield. They do 3 rounds where each team switches each member every 3 minutes in each round. And whoever has the most water in their tank after 3 rounds will win the jungle, stay in the game, and have possession of the star currently owned by Adam and Steve. I thought this was boring as crap.
Yeah, this was an elimination that just... I mean, we watched people spray each other with hoses for 10 minutes. Like, fine. And also, this provides an advantage to teams who can simply hold their arms up in the air the longest. And surprise, if you're taller, you can block the hose more directly.
I will say, I think the biggest issue that happened with this challenge, and this is just me, with competitions that are like this, where it's, like the same activity for a decent period of time, and they're not really doing anything else. A lot of the fun that comes with that are like the endurance challenges. Like specifically what I'm thinking of is like Natalie and Pauly versus Tony and Bananas with like the arms over their head for however long. It was the time lapses and the confessionals that really like boosted that. This was too short to be anything because we only get 9 minutes worth of action that they have to edit into like 5 or 6 minutes worth of TV. And we don't even get hardly anything from the 3rd round, by the way. Just nothing really.
It did feel really useless. Even after the 2nd round, we saw that Adam and Steve's tank was like basically double or triple full to what Anissa and Ashley had. So we basically knew it was over at that point and they just had to play out the 3rd round. But
well, we also do need to talk about the person who I think cost their team this elimination, which was, unfortunately, I cannot believe I'm saying this, was Ashley. Because Ashley made a very big mistake here. It's a challenge with water. They are giving you goggles. Don't take off your goggles.
Yeah, no, Ashley just, after the 1st round, her goggles are slightly dirty and she just takes them off and throws them on the ground.
Which I would like to remind you, the 2nd round is the round where she is blocking the water from the other team, meaning her eyes are getting doused in water. She can't see anything. So water is just filling up in Adam and Steve's tank. And before that, Anissa had been a little bit behind Adam and Steve's pace, but it wasn't anything huge. It was something that they could have came back from realistically.
Yeah.
After the 2nd round,
there was no chance.
Over. It was over. And I mean, again, I'll just save us the time here. Anissa and Ashley are the ones that end up going home here, unfortunately, because I love Ashley. I like Adam and Steve too, don't get me wrong, but Ashley is like one of my challenge people, like one of my favorites. So seeing her go home this early after she's been gone for so long was just disappointing. But yeah, this elimination was boring. And I hope this is not something we see again, or at least not anytime soon.
In concept, it is really fun, but in practice, it needs to be over a longer period of time. It needs to have like the glass breaking element. Like it needs to be more pronounced because at the moment it doesn't feel like enough.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. So in a season where we started out with 6 more women than men, we are now at even gender ratios after 4 episodes with 3 eliminations. Isn't that great? So Adam and Steve hang around. They keep their star. So the star chart has not changed. It is the same 4 teams it has been since the beginning of the season. Those teams being Adam and Steve, Devin and Leroy, Ashley K and Dario. I guess I can just say Ashley and Dario now because Ashley Mitchell's gone. Ashley and Dario and Nani and Turbo. All of them are still going to have their stars going into next week. We'll see if that finally changes. I certainly hope so. But after the elimination, we get a few funny things. One, Steve tries to make an angry face, and it does not go well. It does not work. He's too smiley. But then we get, in my opinion, one of the most interesting points of this episode, even if it was at the very end. Sam and Frank are together on one of their bunks, and Sam has a notebook with everything that has happened thus far in that notebook. Frank asked for like a few specific things to get added, and other than that, Sam is dangerous right now, but I'm interested to see where this goes because throughout the episode we get a few comments of like, oh, Sam's really cool, it's really fun talking to Sam. From like Anissa we get that, from Devin we get that, and then at the end of the episode it kind of seems like Sam's not only getting information throughout these conversations, but she's using that information and keeping it collected. And sharing it with Frank. I think the two of them are on the same page right now, and it's really nice to see that. Sam may not be the strongest challenge competitor, but socially, and I would like to say strategically, she's doing a very good job.
I do feel like Sam is in a position where she and Frank can push forward and actually make a move. I don't think they'll be able to easily get a star by winning a challenge. They may be able to get it by winning an elimination later on, but I think if they play strategically smart, this could, especially with, they mentioned working with some of the weaker teams, I could very much see in the next couple of episodes an almost uprising against the stronger teams, and we could see star-on-star fights in elimination.
I will tell you right now, out of the teams with stars right now, because we have 10 teams left, 4 of them have stars, so almost half the teams have stars, a little bit under half. I legitimately think only 1 or 2 of them are going to make it to the final. I don't think all of them are going to make it to the end. Just based off of, All-Stars 4, but also just based on the fact that pretty soon, if you keep throwing Adam and Steve into elimination, you're either going to have to be the team that beats them and takes their star, or you're just not going to have a star by the time we get to the final. There is going to have to be some maneuvering that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I hope it starts next week. We didn't really get much of a preview for next week, so I'm hoping that...
We didn't really, yeah.
We didn't get anything really substantial. So hopefully whatever comes out of next week is a little bit more intensive than what we've got so far game-wise. And before we wrap this episode up, we do have a draft update. Woo! So the team of Jack has been eliminated ages ago because Beth and John A were Jeff's only pick. So
yeah,
Beth and John A. Last week, Lana lost her first member as Sylvia and Kellyanne went home. And this week, I lose my first member as Ashley and Anissa are now eliminated, meaning Lana and I both have 5 teams left each. Jack, if you wanted, take co-ownership of my team because we're going to win, you're more than welcome to. You can
I'm going to stay a nice neutral party because I'm not getting flack from either of you.
Fair enough. So remaining on my team is, of course, Davon and Shane, Adam and Steve, Big T and Corey, Melissa and Nicole, and Katie and Veronica, aka Only Legends and Shane. And then on Lana's team, we have Amber and Fessy, Leroy and Devin, Nani and Turbo, Ashley K and Dario, and Frank and Sam, aka 3 of the 4 star holder teams, my lord. So, let us know in the comments down below. What do you think is going to happen next week? Will Steve and Adam finally win a daily so they don't have to go into the jungle? Who knows?
I hope. God, I hope. At least let them win something. That way we have a difference.
I want blood next week.
Let the game change in some way. And if they literally have to... I mean, we do know next week is an eating challenge of some course. So this could actually be a challenge that significantly shakes up who can win. But we will see.
I certainly hope it's going to be something interesting. I'm excited for next week because it's got to be better than what we've gotten so far. So let us know down below who you're rooting for. Who do you think is going to win? Who do you think will be the team that sends Adam and Steve home? Will Adam and Steve be sent home? I certainly hope not, for the sake of my draft. So let us know down below what your thoughts are so far. We would love to hear from you. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button on your way out. Hit that thumbs up so that way we can boost this video and get our channel a little bit more clicks, because it would be awesome to have 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And of course, you can always buy your merch, including but not limited to your cup mug, at laundrycreations.etsy.com. That link is, of course, in the ticker down below, in the description down below. And we do ship domestically and internationally, so there are no excuses. So yeah, thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you for tuning in, but we're going to have to head out. So stop watching this video and go watch another one, as we are now saying. Sure.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
Go watch some Dondi.
Woo.